Welcome back. We've got Sin and Tay here. This is episode 3. If you've joined us for the last 2 episodes, you'll know that we're picking up today on our podcast coming back from Chicago. Dante and I have met. This is the Long Distance Relationship Podcast, and this is where we get down to talking about what happens after someone has decided that we've probably want to see where this long distance relationship goes. So in this episode, I think we're going to be talking a lot about feelings that come up when someone's going to kind of decide to really see if there's an opportunity to have a long distance relationship, and then also to the challenges, some challenges that will probably come up or that did come up after we met, and we had some really nice real talks about how we felt, what we both wanted, and to see whether it was something that we were on the same page about.
Yeah. And that was basically what the first meeting was about, was like us meeting and then seeing, what obviously, because there's a great deal of sacrifice in a long distance relationship. So it's like, is this even worth it? Is this even possible? You know what I mean? Like, obviously you have a lot of family there in Australia. I have family here. I got businesses, like I got stuff going on. I got acting career. So, it's like we had to figure out, like, is this even worth, is this even worth the first trip? And I think we established after the first trip that, it's something that we wanted to both pursue. There's definitely a special connection there. A lot of synchronicities and the serendipities of it all, and just perfect timing, better known as maybe divine timing. So yeah, it was. So we went home, and I got home, and you got home. You were flying home, and it was bittersweet.
It was
bittersweet. It was a success meeting, and then we realized though, but now it was like, okay, well, how am I going to see her again? And then it's kind of like when you start to get into that energy, it's like you start to obsess about, ways and possibilities, and kind of scrambling to figure out the next time that you're going to see the person. And when that time comes, like, how many opportunities that you can create to see them. And, I think that's the part where I realized, I was like, okay, let me just let this be one meeting at a time, one conversation at a time, not putting expectations, not, just being locked into an idea and a fixed mindset about what I thought this thing should end up being. I just knew that if we had a chance for it to work, that, we needed to have regularly scheduled visits, and we needed to have a
plan.
A plan, yeah. End game. We had to have an end game.
Well, we both wanted an end game. I think we both had a conversation and realized that it wasn't, country hopping and holidaying and meeting up in different locations that we wanted. I think we kind of had that conversation. I think it was the last night. We got really a bit at dinner, that last dinner that we had. I actually got emotional at the restaurant when we were having that last dinner. And it was kind of bittersweet. I flew back. Obviously, my flight was a lot longer than yours, and we had communication on the flight too, because thanks to modern day technology, we were able to have a really nice long talk on the way home, which was beautiful as well. But that obsession stuff that you were talking about, it's kind of like I got home and I realized the distance that was between us, and I couldn't come and see you again really quickly. So your mind starts playing tricks. It's like, how do I make this work? And then do we even do this? Because it's really painful having to kind of deal with the emotions that come up when you come back to reality. But you had those moments at different times to me having those moments, which was good, because I think we kind of settled conversations, kind of settled those kind of erratic emotions out a bit. So we decided that we would have an end game. We both wanted one. So the end goal is obviously to close the gap between where we are and be in a place where we're together, which is the end game. But realistically, like you said, you've got a lot of work over there, a lot of opportunity and a lot of projects that you're working on. And for me, I have a job here, but I also have all my family here. And it's going to be a transition that we need to at least have the next time when we get to see each other. And then that's what we kind of worked out. Let's make it, a matter of months before we see each other again. And then we've got that kind of stability in knowing I'm going to see you again shortly. So that was kind of like calming for me. And in the process over the last couple of months now, it's been getting to know you on a different level, opportunities that we can have when we do end up closing the gap. And all of those kind of things kind of really did settle me down and realize that for me it was worth pursuing. And then you kind of said the same thing. You came from your angle and said you're also in agreement with that, and we've started that.
I came into it with the attitude that I've grown to really being in alignment within the last few years, and that's a growth mindset. And I just approached it as, welcoming vicissitudes and welcoming challenges. I had a kind of a self-talk and soul search with myself because, I've been kind of on my own, doing my own thing for a while. And I said, am I doing this as kind of like a safety thing of like, okay, I don't really have, this is commitment, but it's kind of like, it's like, it's at a distance. So there's like so I had to really have a conversation with myself and be honest with myself. And I think a lot of people, looking at other material that we've looked at and talked about on long distance relationships on YouTube, podcasts, the variety of different things, the expectation, the communication is there. Maybe are talking about their Yu-Gi-Oh card collections or something for hours on end, day in and day out, because that's just, they never met someone so into Yu-Gi-Oh like that person. But that's, at the end of the day, that's like, you both have to be coming from a place of growth, of having had healed from different perspectives, commonality. And I think that once we established that we had that, okay, then it was like, all right, she has a bunch of family, and also too, it's like, you can't, in a long distance relationship, you can't impose the concession. There's concessions that have to be made. And the people that have to make those concessions are the other party. I can't impose on you what my expectation is of you or else.
Mm-hmm.
In order for this to work, because that was the conversation we had in Chicago. I was like, let's be realistic. Like, I don't want to hold you back. Like, if you're serious about moving out here and being with me, like I can wait for that. If we're talking about a thing where we are always talking and this and that, we can be so real with each other that I told you, like, if you needed to date, like, I'm not going to hold you back from that, and that wasn't giving me my way of giving myself permission, because it could be deemed that way as well. But it was really like an authentic way of like, let's just be realistic here. Like, let's not like pull the wool over anybody's eyes. Let's not fucking bullshit each other. Life's too short. We're too fucking old for that shit. We're both in our 40s. So it's like, and it did start as a conversation of like, I'll meet you here. And it's still that. But I think that we've grown to realize that, you're a person that I could spend a lot of time with, and continue to spend time with and continue to go do things with and having experiences with. I don't even think we've gotten started yet. Well, we have gotten started yet. We've had a ton of experiences, and connections and mind melding, but it's all been, digitally. So it's like taking it up to that next level. People in a long distance relationship, they got to have an end game and a realistic end game. I'm not in school. You're not in school. We're not waiting for anybody to graduate, and I think for us, it's perfect timing because you have a good job, I told you I was open to moving to Australia. I felt like in order for it to be fair and even, I was like that I had to like you enough for that to be a possibility, because I think that if you weren't willing to make the concession. If I wasn't willing to make the concession, then there's, even though we might still make everything happen, there's an imbalance there.
Yeah, it's a one-sided thing. It would have been more of a one-sided effort. I agree with that. And the thing is that you made it very clear that you were very open to moving to Australia. At some point, that's probably going to be something that we can consider. But your opportunities, your acting, your business, realistically speaking, you're in a position where you're currently needing to be like stateside. You need to be in the state. Yeah, you need to. The opportunities are there. For me, my job, there might be a possibility that I could make it work remotely for some time. There's also an opportunity where I can look for a similar job to what I do here over in the States, if that's an opportunity that arises as well, or trying something altogether different, because obviously I have a career, and then I also have a job that I do in mindfulness space, which is something that can be worked at from anywhere in the world if, I set it up properly. So having heard you say that you were open to moving to Australia, realizing that we were both in a position where we were both interested in pursuing something, having found each other, I found you when we connected and actually started talking. I was in a position where I had healed and I had worked a lot on changing the way I looked at things, understanding how I'm supposed to be showing up for myself in the world, and really understanding what kind of a person it is that I needed in my life and in my space. So having been fully aware of all that with a lot of work over the years, having spent, before you and I started talking, I spent nearly 6 years, nearly 6 years on my own working. So working on me, working on letting go of a lot of baggage that I had. So having found you, and you're in a position where you've done basically the same thing at the same time in another country, not realizing we were both doing the same thing. I mean, putting that out there, and you look at that, and you think, energies, attract energy, and it just happened at the right time. Having been a couple of years in each other's space online, the fact that it came together at the time that it did, phenomenal, perfect for both of us.
Yeah, I mean, I think there was obviously this is a conversation you'd had with yourself prior to that of like, am I willing to leave Australia? And ultimately meeting me was kind of like the catalyst that made you, be completely open to it. And one of the big things that, I'm big on growth mind, having a growth attitude and an open-mindedness. And, it would be very easy for us to both get in a very pessimistic mindset and a hopelessness about everything that would have to take place in order for this to, work the way that, we intend for it to work. Because ultimately, like you said, I have the acting career. I have these different things where tomorrow everything could be different. Every day, every other day, I'm getting something presented to me in some sort of way that's, if not, career binding, it's, like possible, could change my life. Like I just, at any moment it could happen, so I have that, I stay in a miracle mindset, and I like I said, again, it's just always about embracing the challenges. And when you embrace the challenge and for you being in the mindfulness space, sound healing, Reiki, it's something that can be done worldwide. I think as you've made your discovery and made your and as you've grown, that's where I think I know that you've seen where you fit and how what you have to offer to these primarily, women, and as far as retreats, as far as, bringing a skill set of leadership, of healing, transformation, you've walked the walk. So I think that's qualified you to put you in a position to, not only just hold the retreat that you're holding there in Australia, but also you have now, can create opportunities for yourself anywhere in the world. So again, embracing the challenge, finding the gratitude in the need to have to dig deep and find, an honest, pure way of expression that truly does manifest tangible results. It's
Exactly.
beautiful to pipe dream. It's fun to pipe dream. And, a lot of people, for them, a long distance relationship can quickly become a novelty item,
Hmm.
that sounds funny or cute or
For a
whatever,
minute.
convenient. Right.
Yeah.
But if you I think, and as I've always been very intentional about my relationships, but the relationships that I've been in, I hadn't completely found myself. I hadn't healed myself. I hadn't known where a certain energy was coming from. And,
Mm.
over the last few years of really just socializing, and interacting with lots of different communities, and individuals, and seeing, how things ebb and flow, I really discovered like, okay, I see like my place here and who I am, and I'm very comfortable in my skin. Like I'm probably the most comfortable I've ever been in my own skin ever in life. And that when you're in that space, being in that space, I feel a lot more confident about how I can show up for my other half. Like the balance that I can find in the grounded, centered approach, the clarity of mission, understanding that in order for this to happen, we have to create opportunities through, purpose. We're grounded in purpose, and I think that there's a philosophy that we share, a kindred philosophy that we're kind of drawing from, that's kind of the hidden thing behind that's driving a lot of our trust, and in it all working it out, in it all working out, you know because if that wasn't there and it was just superficial, then we would either get bored, or one of us would be given too much and ultimately put themselves in a circumstance where they weren't maybe 100% clear on what was what. But I think with the understanding of the way we're approaching it, with we're not wanting you to come out here to go do a 9 to 5. Yes, you can do what you do here, but how can we make it your own and elevate it to the next level? And everything that we're stepping into, um, that's the attitude.
Yeah, and the intentionality and the importance of obviously um, understanding. For me, when we were talking, and you were like, you were very mindful to say, you're aware that my whole family is here in Australia, and my kids, my grandchild, um, parents, all of that, and the importance for me to be able to come back often and not feel like I'm sacrificing and leaving a whole part of my life behind just to pursue, you know this relationship that we've really worked or found. So I think that was one of the most, one of the most heartfelt things that I felt from you in conversations that we had, because you were very much, I know you've got family there, and I'm not going to make you do anything. And you were very clear on it had nothing to do with, you saying you've got to come to America, Cindy, and this is, the only way it could be. I think the beauty about the way it's molded into is those discussions that we have had, and that philosophy, the approach, the purpose, the end goals that we have is all about facilitating a life for ourselves that doesn't keep us planted in one spot. It's fluid. We can actually move around, and in the meantime, getting to know you, closing the gap, living, in America, living in Australia, whatever it is, I'm open to also not having such a rigid plan that if it comes out of, what we've planned, we're open to change in that too. So that's also something that we have in common, is not trying to control the situation, which I've been in a position before where, I felt like I had to control everything in order to be, ahead of the game, or something like that. And this has just been really, it's been fluid. It's evolving into something. And I think the participation and the openness on both of us is the reason why these discussions that we have about possibilities is so I find it so rewarding and so optimistic for us.
Yeah, well, you mentioned that like you have the characteristic of making sure things are in order and taken care of, and I think that has a lot to do with the generation that we come from, and
Mhm.
being a teenage parent. I think you just get into that instinct and that mindset, from the giddy up. Um, the thing that I really think about the most too is that that's an asset. That's a good way to be, that you want to make sure that the T's are crossed and the I's are dotted, because you're not going to get into anything with an unrealistic expectation or lack of preparation. And, it's just obviously, comes from the growth, from the experience and the maturity, over the years. And, and I think that, again, going into it with you going, okay, I'm going to create things that allow me to be free and allow me, and that's a good thing. We're already both in positions where we can travel
Right.
around and take a week off. And, neither one of us are like independently wealthy, at this point right now, but we have enough means and ability to kind of have a flexibility of schedule and time and finance to,
Mhm.
make things happen, and the great, like, a lot of people, the average ticket going to where you live is 2,500 to $3,000, round trip.
Mhm.
Um,
Absolutely.
but just the way the universe works, and as things would have it, I have flight privileges where you can fly for 25% to 30% of that cost, here, a few times a year. And then obviously I have a benefit where I can fly there, or at least get to Hawaii for $200.
Mhm.
Your flight's like 600 or 700, so we're hanging out in Hawaii for $800. It costs us to get to each other.
Yeah.
It's relative. $800 is a lot of money, but it's not.
Yeah.
It's not it's not going to stop us
It
from being able to
works.
see each
Yeah.
other. That's possible. That's attainable. So
Mhm.
that's and see, so those are the just kind of, that's probably our secret weapon there, as far as being able to know that, okay, I can see her and it's not going to cost me $12,000 a year to see her 4 times a year,
Yeah.
or vice versa, and but it's relative, and that's where I think, having a good, we didn't start talking about doing businesses or doing things together until we realized we have a really good working relationship, and we knew we could. Um, I think that's what, when people get in relationships, that's important to remember, is like, how well do we, you get along together, you have fun together, she's cute, he's cute, the astrology and the numbers line up, but how do we problem solve together? How do we problem solve together? And then if you can problem solve and make concessions for something as big as a 10,000 mile plus gap, and 21 hours on a plane, and crossing the international date line, then anything is possible. you know
Yeah.
um
And we've both got different strengths as well too. So I think that a lot of the times I'll get into a certain way of thinking, and working together, you come up with certain things that I can't see, and then solution based. It's not about we think the same and we act the same, and therefore we're suited. I think it's also important when people, you balance me, you balance me out, you offer to me what
you
I have.
complete me.
Complete me. Yeah, that too. But do you know what I mean? You had me at hello. But I think it's good. I think it's being mature enough now for me to see that there's the balance of the way we are, and what you show up with when I don't have something, and vice versa, is again, it's a maturity thing too, I guess. When you think about it, like, it's these tools that I'm so fortunate to have in my life now is based on all the work from all my experiences from my early 20s to now. So if I was to ask you what three things you think is most important for a long distance couple planning to start something new, what are the three things that you would have a discussion with before you go any further? Out of what?
I think the most important thing is not how you like lust or infatuate off the person, but like really actually truly care for them, and then to know why it is and what it is that makes you feel that way, and how those fundamentals or intangibles kind of facilitate the possibility. And like once you've kind of made that discovery, then you build from there. Obviously, you want to make sure the person's on the same page. Like, there's no way you can have, and I think what it really is a test, and I'm sorry, use the second thing.
No, what are the 3 points that you would give to someone wanting to start a long distance relationship to say, make sure, I would say again,
that was like
exactly
3 and 1 kind of right there, but that was like, okay, so that was one. Make sure that the relationship make sure the relationship is like based in a certain thing, and that, it's not like, and then make sure that, that you're healed up and you're, grounded and just very self-awareness. You know what I mean? Like make sure that you somewhat have a degree of self-actualization. That's the thing I noticed about you right away. I was like, she's very self-actualized, and none of us are perfect. We still have our quirks. We still go back and, the jury is still out. Like don't get it twisted, like,
emotional intelligence was one of mine ones. I need this person to be emotionally intelligent.
Oh, that's key.
Secure within themselves, because distance can create a lot of crazy thoughts up here, I think.
Oh, 100%. And like I said, I think if it's a thing where you felt the need that you needed to go out and go on dates and stuff like that, I wouldn't really even I wouldn't get, what can I do? Thank God she's telling me what's going on. Like, that's all I can ask for. You know what I'm saying? Like, and then and then we wait until we actually really start to see after a second or third visit. Like, I would respect that. I wouldn't really care. At this point with me, like, I feel like I really want to see where this thing goes. I know we have certain set dates in place of when we're going to actually meet again and hang out again. We spent 5 days in shared space, without one, I mean, it's still honeymoon phase, but, but I see a lot of things that lend to, and that's the exciting thing about this podcast. Like, you guys are like seeing this in real time and us just figuring it out. Like, and it's there's a degree of like pressure, small degree. I don't feel like we got to make it work for this podcast, like by any stretch of the imagination. And I don't even think that if we didn't work out, that necessarily we would stop doing this podcast, to be honest. It's not even based on just only the fact that, because one way or another, it's going to be educational.
I think it's important. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that, obviously we're not going to, what you guys will see is you're going to see us in real time. We explained that in the first episode. This is real time. When we're in Hawaii, you guys are going to be there sitting on the beach with us, like, and seeing it, soaking it in, feeling the energy, being in that vibration and frequency with us, like celebrating, like your long distance relationship, like celebrating, like giving you imagination fuel, you know what I mean? To get you on the possibility train of, what could happen, with you and that person. If you know that person, it's worth the year and a half finishing school or the job transfer or whatever it takes,
I would hate for someone to feel like they're not going to try it because of the distance. If the fact of the matter is that the internet and technology has made this world such a small place that the beauty about finding someone who is, 10,000 miles away is that, you can create a level of closeness. It's not physical closeness, but sometimes I feel like we are as close as if I was there. But at the end of the day, if anyone's out there contemplating or thinking of talking themselves out of a long distance relationship, the fact that when I was ready to meet someone, the fact that when I was ready to meet somebody, that it ends up being someone who lives in another country is, it blows my mind that now in today's day and age, I can actually make that happen and it's possible. So coming along for the ride is going to be interesting.
Yeah, I find the gratitude and, and we can continue on this a little bit longer. I find the gratitude in the tools because, like I was married on one of my deployments in the military, and having to being able. I just got out of boot camp. You want to call home? A calling card was $20, and on the ship in the middle of the Persian Gulf, the calls were $1 per minute.
Wow.
So $20 was a 20-minute phone call,
Yeah.
essentially like a collect call, like you're jail. Military was like jail, but you just got benefits. That's often it wasn't as bad. You obviously weren't in jail. I was never been in jail, but that's definitely the circumstance I could compare it to. And
Yeah.
so, yeah, but now like they got email, they got video chat, like that's what we have now. It's like, whoa, hold on, like we could do dinner dates, like we haven't done dinner date, but we've done a movie date, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Several movies have we watched together, and there's no difference in being in the theater other than we can't obviously physically put
Mhm.
touch each other. I mean, it gets so surreal to where we're sitting there and we got the movie synchronized and we're watching it together.
Yeah.
And this will be my third thing people can do. I've said two, this is the third. So the things people can do is, or recommend is you have movie nights, you have these things that where you're really connect. And it's weird because when you're on the phone, you have to make sure you kind of stay aware and present with them as you're watching the show. So you're like, did you see that? And see, whereas what they're right next to you, clearly they saw what you saw, and you're both are just like fixated
Yeah.
on the screen. Whereas we're like, where you at? I'm here. Okay, did you see that? And we're discussing it, and we're present with that with each other. And so that connection actually makes it more where I've thought that I was, oh my gosh, she's not in the room.
Yeah.
Because the earbud is so light in my ear after a while, you don't even feel it. And then it's just like you're right there. It's like, oh,
Yeah.
why am I not looking over and seeing her? That's weird. She's just right there. So
Good. And then the moments where, you're doing your work and I'm doing my emails, and it's like we're just sitting there together working at the dinner table together. These moments are just, you can create them with people if you are wanting a long distance relationship. That's probably your third point, is a very important one too, just creating those moments. You do a lot of cooking on the phone, cook your dinner, you make it. We haven't had a dinner together, but we can't, because my breakfast is your dinner and vice versa.
it'd be a weird ass meal. Like I'd be having waffle and eggs, and you'd be having like, I don't know, chicken
No.
soup. Vegetable soup,
veggie soup, stir fry, no. So we haven't done that. So we'll keep dinner for when we're together. But I think one of my points would be, important point for me would also be just making sure that you're both aware of the distance, of the time between seeing each other needs to be something that you both agree on, or that you can both compromise on. So sometimes people will be okay to see each other once every 6 months, right? That's not for me, but some people will be okay to see each other once every 3 months, or once every, some people might want to see each other once every month. But being realistic on what you're both happy to keep that going with is probably something that you need to be on par as well with, because you both need to know that there's going to be that time, and you're okay with that time. That's
for me. It's got to get to a point where you're sleeping in the same bed next to that you're sleeping in the same bed as that person.
Yeah.
That's the end game goal, building something together, not always splitting the resources and dividing the pie, just to facilitate the, logistical issue, but to be focused on creating a common goal and agenda for where you want the relationship and what material, obviously, and spiritual goals that you guys have that you expect to come from the relationship. And I think when you have those things in mind, when you're building it out, I think that you're setting yourself up for a very, successful possibility, but I'm an open-minded person. Like I look at, like we could get around each other, and it just like after a while, it's like, all right, the kind of the novelty and the excitement, like the connection is obviously never going to leave, but maybe it could be this or that. Like, as far as, let me give an example, that it was just the excitement, the idea of
the romanticism of the long
yeah,
distance relationship.
that's the
Yeah.
reality. That's the reality that people
Which
always
we always talk about too. It could, like,
often.
let's meet a second time, like we get all these ideas and we get carried away with these possibilities. And then we go, how about we meet again for a second time first?
Yeah,
We get so caught up in it. And it's keeping that being realistic as well.
exactly. And but that there's a level of excitement in that. But I always kind of do a little gut check. I take a step back. I kind of ask myself certain questions like, am I still in the same energy? Is this like, okay, cool? And then because also too, when you're doing this thing, you can get start overextending yourself and start kind of just doing like you're just like, if you're not taking care of your business around your house and your
Mm-hmm.
money and your all the stuff because you're so wrapped up in what time is it? Oh, I should be getting my call soon, or why didn't they respond to this text right away? Where are they? Whatever. What's going on? Like, if you're thinking that way, that's where like it starts to get. And if you're trying to hurry up and close the gap on the relationship so that you don't have to feel that way, then you have a bigger problem going into the relationship period.
Yeah, absolutely.
That you need to really address before you start thinking about living with the person, because that's not going to go away because they're in proximity, unless you're not so much maybe your intention, but your subconscious kind of disposition is positioning you in a way where you're coming at them with all these insecurities and projecting all this shit from your past into the relationship that you need to have had figured out and worked on before you got involved, or had a real conversation with this person, or knew that you're dealing with a person that may not be 100% upfront with you, or may not be, truthful. And I think as long as you have those realistic conversations and have the insight and the wherewithal to know, then then now you're talking. Now you're a reasonable person with a reasonable possibility of
exploring something
to pull off some level of idea of success.
Yeah, absolutely. Great advice. Great advice for two people that are just going through the motions at the moment and trying to do that.
But we're doing the thing. I mean, we're doing the thing like any other person. We're doing the thing. We're doing the thing. We're doing it. We're just the thing we're not doing is that we're not in physical proximity. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because I see you every day. Video chat. I talk to you every day.
Yeah. Yeah.
We hear who the other person is in the room with, who they're talking to at least once a day. We know each other's work schedule. Mine is like weird. Like I might get up and work tomorrow in the morning. I might have to be out till 3 at night, like I was the last 2 nights. Which I'm trying to transition out of that and have more staff and run my business. But that's a whole nother conversation. But that's the thing about what again, just as an example, and I'll end on that for myself. The growth mindset. Like I was always just like, I got to be here and be available for my business. I got to be here and be available for my business until this acting thing takes over. And then I should make an amount of money in that off a few good projects or a commercial to where then, oh, great. Now I can go travel off some of this money. And then I'll come back and do it all over again. And that'll be my new life, as opposed to trying to, homogenize all of this, intersect all these things, interlace these things where they all can that it coexists, and one feeds into the other on the way up on the escalator, and never really looking at anything as like, I got to end this, so I was like, actually what I need to do is I need to get some employees, I need to get some staff, I need to get some income in where I'm not the X factor getting everything done, you know what I mean? And so transitioning my business, so I've used this as an opportunity, as a catalyst to shift me into a higher level of presence and of purpose as well, and whether, however that we go, that won't go away. You know what I mean? And there's things that, that we complement each other on that just flat out, like we've gotten better from just being around each other for this period of time up to this point.
Yeah, there's been growth in this short period of time with lots of different areas. So I agree with that too.
Absolutely.
I think that that's a perfect place to end because
Yeah, that's Brent. Who's the sponsor? Let's do a sponsorship and then yeah, commercial
Okay.
break.
All right. So I would like to let everyone know that if you do want to have any of the services regarding Reiki, meditation, sound healing, you can find me on Kindred Rejuvenation on Instagram. I'm contactable through direct messages, and we can organize an online Zoom or video call for any of that kind of stuff that you might be into or might be looking into. If you're someone that's never had it, reach out. We can have a conversation beforehand to see if it's something that you would like to try out. It's an amazing it's an amazing practice, Reiki. It's all about rebalancing and unblocking certain emotions. So I won't talk about it. That's a whole different podcast. But connect with me if you'd like. I'd be more than happy to work through that with you. That's where you can find me. I'm also on Facebook under Kindred Rejuvenation, so you can check me out there as well if you prefer. What about you?
And you can definitely get your Gratitude is Magic gear at Be Grateful and Golden on Etsy right now. Get your Gratitude is Magic t-shirt. They're only $10 right now on Etsy. It's the black shirt. Scroll down. I got all sizes. And then definitely join Better by the Day. That is the fitness page that I run for my fitness business for those that want to have a not only just great body, but also a fit mindset, and that's the formula for success. So you can definitely look me up at Dante Lives 13. So that's Dante Lives 13. That's on Instagram. Just shoot me a DM and we'll set up a call to have a conversation and try to help you get, and we'll get you signed up, set up to get those physical goals. And definitely, yeah, just don't forget, Cindy has a retreat that is coming up on what's the date, Cindy?
The 18th of May for anyone who lives in the Sydney area. I would love to come to Sydney. I'm having it on the 18th of May in Kangaroo Valley, which is just an hour and a half outside of Sydney. Come along if you are a woman who's looking to reconnect with the true essence of who they are and get back to living in alignment. I'd love to have you join. That's also contactable at Kindred Rejuvenation. There's a link in there as well, and you can send me a message and I'll get all your details and send you all that too. Perfect.